So thank you very much, Rachel, and thank you, Creative Mornings, for inviting me. Oh, can you hear me good? Yeah? Okay. Thank you, dear audience, for showing up so early in the morning to speak about porn whilst biting into croissants. I love it. So, recently I'm frequently invited to speak about porn, but then when I read my name in the same sentence as pornography expert, I still wonder how the fuck did that happen? Well, it started 6 years ago when two friends came home from a film festival and they brought me a DVD called Dirty Diaries. It's a Swedish it's a Swedish films with short feminist porn movies, but they're nothing like anything that I would have ever associated with porn. We invited some friends over to watch the films, and the films were fun, subversive, intelligent, and really hot at the same time, but also super creative. And after watching the films, we had some really exciting discussions about sexuality. And I think one of the reasons that we could speak so openly about sex was because we didn't have to expose ourselves and speak about ourselves, but we could refer to the images that we had seen in the films and ask our questions or make statements speaking about the films instead of making a soul striptease. And then also it was really nice to have a mixed group of people, because normally I realized when I speak about sex, it's with girlfriends and then guys would speak with other guys, but to have a group of mixed people speak openly about sexuality is kind of rare. So in the end of the evening, the question arose if there are more of these kind of films and where could we find them, and everybody wanted to see them again or see more and speak about these kind of films more. So after a couple of glasses of wine, these two friends who brought me the DVD and I said, okay, we'll found a sex film festival. And 1 year later, we hosted the first Porny Brunch. It's funny because it kind of reminds me of the situation here right now. It was a Sunday morning. We showed a selection of short movies and served a lush brunch buffet. So I drew this flyer, but it's a while ago. We hand-printed them, sprayed them, gave them away on the streets. And I think the crowd was as big as it is this Friday morning here. And then 1 year later, we hosted the first 3-day festival called Porny Days. And ever since, it's been a 3-day festival. And I'm going to show you the first trailer of the festival in 2013. Oh, sound. It has to be loud. Yeah. We don't call it Sex Film Festival anymore, but we call it Film and Art Festival now, because porny and sex in one title was just too much for the people. This is what the posters look like nowadays. You can see that there's a slight difference in our graphic design. It's not me anymore doing it. So the program grew a lot from just being a film program to actually hosting also performances, dance, panel discussions, literature, workshops, a party, and of course still the Porny Brunch. And it's always been and stayed very important to speak about sex, so we care about inviting the artists, filmmakers and artists to speak about their intention. So why did they make the movies? How were they made? What was their idea? And also to answer questions of the audience. So at Porny Days, we want to offer a platform to speak about sex and pornography in an open and caring environment without shame. But why is it important to speak about sex? Well, every single person in this room is the proof that at least 2 people fucked at least once. But very, very likely a lot more people fucked a lot more until you were created. So what I want to say with this is that sex happens a lot, and it concerns all of us. But why is it important to speak about porn? Well, porn is everywhere, but we're still afraid to speak about it and to take it seriously. But if you look at clicks, at the number of clicks online, it's bigger than music and it's bigger than sports. So just imagine now everybody watching the World Cup would do this at home secretly and not talk about it. It's unimaginable. So I think it's impossible. We can't get rid of porn, but the only thing that we can do is develop a language to speak about it and also to create new images and offer platforms for alternatives to mainstream pornography. Because I do believe that in showing other images, these images will spread and they can influence and create new ways of behavior. In this sense, I believe that pornography can be an important vehicle to transport a message of love, acceptance, and respect. Well, because porn, it conveys an image of masculinity and femininity, and I think it's really important that we participate in this discourse. Because most films that we see now are just boring and superficial.
Ja, das ist der Stromkasten, mit dem wir immer Probleme haben, wenn Sie sich den mal angucken könnten.
Ja, aber warum liegt hier überhaupt Strom?
Warum hast du eine Maske auf?
Na, bleib mir mal.
Although I must admit this one is actually quite funny and sweet. If you look at it now, it's a very old clip. I love it. But so I think the problem is that in most porn that's produced nowadays, I guess it's a lot more extreme than this, and it looks like sex is something that men do to women, but sex is so much more than that. Sex is a really important part of our personality. Who we are sexually is a fundamental driver of how we feel about ourselves, and also how we feel about other people, and how we feel about our life and our happiness and our relationships. So, what is my intention? I will answer this question by asking you a couple of questions. So, who in this room likes to do sports? Can you raise your arm? Oh, wow, good. Who cares about good food? Who enjoys music? So everybody does everything. Who goes to sex workshops? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I really want to change this. I want to see as many hands going up when I ask you that last question. Because my intention is that sex becomes a part of our culture, just like food, sports, or arts. Because I strongly believe that taking good care of our sexuality can make a very, very big contribution to our physical and psychological health. It's funny because if you think of it, we learn new things in every part of our life. So we buy new cooking books, and we travel to foreign countries and learn new languages. We turn 40 and suddenly we want to do hatha yoga or whatever. But when it turns to sex, we have a couple of uptight education, hours of sex education in school, and then we fuck for the first time to have it behind us. Then we go to the gynecologist to learn about contraception and disease, and that's it. I think it's important with sex, like with everything else, that somebody tells us about it, and somebody tells us about the fun parts of it also, and about the diversity of bodies and sexual practices. Because I believe that desire is learnable, just like taste. I mean, did you like coffee when you were a kid? No. You saw grown-ups drink it, and then eventually you try it, and then you learn that it actually goes really well with croissants. So you drink it every morning, and then you learn how you personally like to drink your coffee, what beans, what roasting, and how much milk you like in it. So it's a process. And yeah, like everything else in life, we need examples, we need role models, we need exercise, and we need knowledge. So I want to do a small exercise with you. If you can free your underarm, or upper arm would be better because it's a bit fattier, but underarm is fine. So just do the same that I'm doing. You ready? Okay, so slap it. It's a nice sound, no? Like... More, so it turns a bit pink. Okay, then blow it. And then stroke it. Did that hurt? Probably not. This was a tiny glimpse of what BDSM can be like. What happened is it brought the blood to the surface of your skin. It turned it to a nice little pink color. It made it a lot more sensitive, so that when you blow it and you caress it, it's a nice experience, and it's more special than if you just, blow yourself like this. But what most people think when they hear BDSM is pain and hurt, and it's not true. It's just a little part of it. But it's actually just a huge playground to experience sexuality, not focused on penetration. And it's a shame if we don't discover this, because it's just so much more playful and fun. So much more fun things that we can do within sexuality. So I want to show you a short trailer of a BDSM movie that we screened at Porny Days last year.
I want you to feel what it feels like without being able to see me, to know that I'm just staring at your pussy. Staring at how your lips hang below, like an invitation.
The girl you see in the image is Yasko. She was also the body that you saw in the movie. She's one of the independent porn actors in Berlin, which is now just all over the place. I really love her and think she's very hot and also very smart and loving person. Well, and because BDSM doesn't just focus on penetration, it's often practiced in feminist porn. But what do I mean when I say feminist porn? Well, in contrast to mainstream porn, it doesn't focus on the cum shot. It's about the pleasure of all people that are involved. It's not about a quick satisfaction, but about a long-lasting effect that can actually inspire your sexuality. It doesn't reproduce stereotypes, but it shows a diversity of bodies and of sexual practices. It doesn't just focus on genitals, but on the relationships also between the people involved, and it includes the whole body. Also, the production is important, so how are the films made? Who is in the team? Are the people paid? How is the ambience on set? And also the audience, so who is the film produced for? Because mainstream porn is still nowadays mostly produced from heterosexual white men for heterosexual white men. And feminist porn is produced by a diversity for many different audiences. Then things like safer sex are important, humor, sound, setting, and so on and so forth. So it's a very holistic way of producing films. And I like to sum it up by saying, mainstream porn is sex from yesterday, and feminist porn is sex from tomorrow. And you see, feminist porn for me, it's not just for women, it's really for everybody. So I will show you now a very old clip from one of my favorite producers. She doesn't show it anymore, but I found it online, so I'm going to show it to you anyway. She still produces very great films, and I just think this one is a really good example of what feminist and contemporary porn can be like. But how do we integrate feminist porn in our everyday life and in our culture? Well, I think it's important that we create a positive image of sexuality and that we speak about it openly and that we educate in a playful way. So I have another question for you. How big do you think a clit is in average? One centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20. Any guesses? A clit, like a clitoris? 20. Any other guesses? 2. Let's have like 3 more guesses. 5. Such a difficult question, no? It's weird, 2018, it's like penis, clitoris, how big is a clit? Well, how big is a kidney? A kidney is 12 centimeters big. Now imagine in nowadays medicine books, they would write that a kidney is 2 centimeters big. It's quite a big difference. It's the same about the clit. 2018, in most biology and medicine books, it still says that the clitoris is just 2 centimeters big. Now, it's unbelievable. And I made something for you today to give you a little demonstration. So I made a clit, and this is the whole organ, right? So what we normally speak about, what we think is 2 centimeters big, is just the glans. So it's this top part of the clitoris that you see on top of the vulva, but the whole organ is 12 centimeters big. And there's 2 thick thighs. They actually stretch in your, like along your labia, and then there's these slightly thinner little arms which go inside of your body towards the vagina. And then there's the G-spot. I prefer to call it more like it's not just a spot, well, it's more like a surface which is here. And this whole organ is erectile, so it swells like a penis. It's kind of has the same material. And it also lubricates and it ejaculates. But also, this is another weird thing. A lot of people don't know that women can ejaculate, and the only recognized, or like the way that you would speak about it is to say female ejaculation, because ejaculation is still very much associated with the male body. The only word that I know of that expresses female ejaculation without referring to the male body is squirting, but it's slang. So if anybody of you knows German or English or other word for this, I would be interested to hear. Maybe afterwards, or if anybody knows now, even not know. Yeah. Maybe we can invent one. Well, anyway, so if we speak of a penis, then the correct equivalent would be a clitoris, not a vagina. And anyway, mostly what happens is if we speak of a vagina, we mean the vulva, because the vulva is the outside part of the genitals, so everything that you can see with the inner and outer lips and the glands of the clit. The vagina is just the inside part. So I really think it's weird that even nowadays there's still so many things that we don't know about the female genitals, and there's still a lot of wrong information out there. So this project for me with these tufted clits is very much about worshipping women, about knowledge, and also about creating a positive self-image. I have another story for you that I really like. So, I don't know, one of the worst English swear words nowadays is cunt. And it wasn't like that always. I think now if you say cunt in any like official platform, they will beep it. But it used to be the contrary. It used to be a very strong and positive and powerful word, because the roots of the word are actually queen, country, and kin. And kin in Old English, it means family, offspring, people of a country. Yeah, people of a country that belongs to a queen. So a super, super positive word, which over time somehow got turned around to be one of the worst words that you can use nowadays. But how do we speak about these things? We need icebreakers. So my idea was to hang huge genitals on a wall. But the good thing about it is that it's not recognizable so easily, right? So you can actually have a big clit hanging on your wall, invite your parents and grandparents over for dinner without even talking about it. But then if you want, you could actually use it to start speaking about all these, things that you might be interested in, or that you know, or questions that you have, and you can open up a discussion. So you notice I insist it's so important to take sex seriously, because sex is so basic, it's so sensitive, it's so personal, that I do believe that if we manage within sexuality to express our desires and also to set our boundaries, then we can do this in every other part of our life. It's peanuts. Now, all of these projects are very visual, but of course sexuality includes a lot of other senses also. Most of all, in sexuality, tactility is very important. So what if we eliminate the visual sense and focus on what we feel instead? By eliminating the sight, we enable ourselves to just experience a connection by feeling each other. And in this moment, it doesn't depend anymore if you're into women or men or old or young or big or small or fat or brown or blonde or whatever. It's really just about a feeling of, like, does this connection feel good or doesn't it? So together with a friend, I built an object, and it's called Oxomat. It's the photos that you just saw. And it's about as big as a telephone cell, and somebody can stand into it. We also made a little code so that you can get in without anybody recognizing you. And from outside, it's covered by white, fluffy, fake fur, and it has 12 bumps where you can put your hand through. So the body inside can indulge in the caresses from the hands that are coming from outside, and the hands coming in can discover and caress the body that's standing inside. And of course, there's always a companion with the Oxomat to make sure that everybody who's involved is happy and safe. So if you want to experience this, you can come to this year's Porny Days. There's going to be an Uxamat performance happening there. Well, I believe that if we weren't so focused on what people look like, but we would instead give more attention to what we feel, then we could discover that there is so many different kinds of love that we can share and so many more nice encounters that we can experience. And I believe that if these boundaries were more fluid, then the world could be a better place. Now this is getting cheesy, but I really do believe this. Because if physical characteristics wouldn't play such a big role anymore, there would be less discrimination, and therefore less violence. Then we could learn that to trust if something feels good is more important than if we're afraid of things. And I believe that this world would be a society in that less violence occurs. Thank you.